All right, Black Vargas Force, thank you very much. And while everyone reacts differently, fear and anxiety about the spread of the coronavirus can be extremely overwhelming. And coping with feelings and knowing when and how to seek help is of paramount importance right along through here. And joining us this morning via Skype from his home in Brooklyn is clinical psychologist and author Dr. Tony Ortega. Dr. Ortega, good morning to you. Thank you so much for being with us. We are, living in a time where there is so much unknown about the coronavirus, COVID-19, and when there is this lack of knowledge and information, it really produces a sense of vulnerability within individuals, right? So many folks are feeling overwhelmed and scared and so anxious. What can we do, right, to help stabilize and to help create a foundation for ourselves during this time?
I think the number one step is to normalize whatever experience you're going through. If we're feeling scared, if we're feeling anxious, we name it, we're okay with it, we don't judge ourselves for it. It's a scary time. This is something that we could rightfully be anxious about. What we can change are the choices we make based on those feelings by not doing over-the-top extreme things, staying connected to our loved ones, and, overall just not allowing our thoughts to freak us out.
Dr. Ortega, what do we do? How do we manage the news that we're getting? Because that tends to also inspire a lot of unsettled feelings. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't really know the risk and the threat, no matter what. We're getting lots of different information from different sources. How do we manage information so that we don't freak out, basically?
I totally see that. What you want to do is assign certain times of the day to get your information. Listen, get your news from, first, very trusted and reliable source. I'm sticking to the CDC, WHO, and local news channels like yourself. And then I'm not checking or refreshing on my social media feed every 2 seconds. I check it in the morning, way after I wake up. Don't do it when you first wake up in the morning. It's going to drive you nuts. After breakfast, I'll check it. Okay, what's going on? Things like that. Maybe at lunch, maybe at dinner. Avoid checking any of this stuff when you first wake up and when you go to bed. That is just going to increase your anxiety, cause insomnia if you're going to bed, and make your day probably really awful if you're checking it right when you're waking up.
And, there's all this conversation, too, about, self-quarantining and limiting our public interactions. But with that, you're at home, right? And so then you're like, now I'm feeling depressed. Now I feel isolated. Now I just feel like I'm really sitting here just waiting. And there's a sense of avoiding, the outside world. So how do we cope with that? And how important is ritualized behavior, right, in that setting?
To the first question, break out your bucket list. Break out your to-do list. So we all have, like, home to-do lists. Repaint this room. Hang up this picture. Organize a sock drawer. I hear that a lot sometimes, right? Now's your chance to do that, right? Or your bucket list. A lot of people, when they find out I'm an author, they're like, oh, I've always wanted to write a book. Now's your chance. Do that now.
That's true. It's normalized behavior, because what else can you do? Also binge watching your favorite shows. So the elderly, Dr. Ortega, are the most vulnerable here, we are told. How do we reassure them and calm their fears? What advice would you give us?
You want to reassure and not dismiss their feelings. Again, normalizing, validating what they are experiencing. You don't want to patronize them. They are most at risk according to what we're hearing, right? So find out what they need. If you can't go visit them, if they're in a nursing home, maybe have something delivered to them, stay on the phone with them, check in with them, maybe read a book over the telephone, over Skype, over FaceTime, stay connected with them, let them know that they have someone there to help them through this pretty awful time.
All right, Dr. Ortega, thank you very much. I think you've helped many people this morning, and we'll be checking in with you soon. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ortega. I have a feeling that we're going to be doing a lot of interviews via Skype.
Yeah, especially right along through here.
Yeah,
right? You have to honor where you are, right?
That's right.
Right, be with yourself. For resources or to help you care for yourself and your family and others, you can visit the CDC website. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay with us.